Hi and welcome to MMA Nytt and Studio MMA. I'm your host Marcus Kowal and we're here in Stockholm, Sweden for UFC Sweden. Tonight we've got a couple of very special guests in Burt Watson, the #1 hype man in the industry, the man behind the scenes for the UFC, as well as our Jiu-Jitsu specialist, Waldo Zapata, who's been working with a couple of the guys who are on the card on Saturday night in Globen, Stockholm. Don't go away, be right back. Welcome back to the studio show, and we got no one less than Burt Watson with us in the studio today. We also got Waldo Zapata, who you would believe maybe is not from Sweden, but who is from Sweden. However, Burt, you're going to be okay with this, doing this in Swedish tonight?
I'm okay, baby. Believe me.
Yeah?
I can handle it.
How long have you been here for now?
I've learned it in one day. I got here yesterday, so
wow,
I'm good.
Impressive. Very impressive, right?
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
I'm good. I'm perpetrating, believe me.
How you coping with the cold?
It's not bad compared to, just coming from the States where it's just going from one season to the next. It's good. It's not as cold as I thought it would be.
No, You've been here for one day, right?
I've been here for one day. And
stay here for about 36 years. It will change your opinion.
Okay. So you know what? I'd like it because I think I'd like it here.
We're talking a little bit about the history of mixed martial arts, and I wanted to ask both of you actually, what was your first moment of realizing the UFC? What was your first interaction with the UFC?
My first actually was in the year 2000. I coming from a boxing background, I did Jitsu and Zab Judah. I did that fight in Atlantic City and met Dana White. Someone introduced us. A mutual friend introduced me to Dana White.
At the time, were you aware of what the UFC was?
I had no idea. I mean, I knew of MMA and Bruce Lee, Bruce Leroy.
Right.
Yeah, sure enough.
I knew Kung Fu fighting. I knew that. And I'm not making a mockery or no disrespect to the sport. But I had no idea because at that time, most of it was either underground or YouTube or on a computer where you had to know what it was to go see it. So I had no idea.
It was probably bigger here than it was in the U.S., I would say.
At the time?
Yeah.
What was your first interaction with it?
Way earlier.
UFC?
It's like in 94, 95.
So
right after it started,
The very first one?
We're talking VHS tapes, like really bad copies. You're like, are they fighting?
Because it was, just but it was illegal over here. We had to get, illegal copies on VHS. That's what I saw as well.
Yeah, I was breaking the law.
Well, that's still illegal in the States. Some people still sell it out of the trunk of their car.
I never said I actually got the tapes. I just watched them. What's my tape?
Oh, okay.
Me too.
Okay.
Now, so you met Dana White in Atlantic City.
No, it was in Vegas. And they said that he was starting an organization and needed a coordinator. He was just trying to put a collective group of people together.
So he knew of you?
To make, he knew, I don't know. I don't know whether he knew of me, but I was introduced to a person that knew of me and knew that I was a coordinator and knew, I was a hired gun. You pay me, respect me, you got it done, baby. I get the job.
I always wanted to say that. Always. I was a hired gun.
And that's what I did. So they came and they asked me about it, and I said sure. And my first show or my first experience was in Atlantic City.
Okay.
And it was Phil Baroni, Mark Coleman, Kevin Randleman, and another
nutcase
guy. and I think somewhere along the line in the middle of the night during the show or after the show, the bar was right across from the registration desk. And everybody was over there having a good time, enjoying themselves. And somebody said something he had no business saying. And it got to Baroni, Randleman, and Coleman, and they wanted to let this guy know that what he said was wrong.
Really?
They did.
It doesn't sound like those type of guys.
Wow. And they did, and
they did.
I was the one that had to kind of get in there, not knowing nothing, but didn't want to get too close because boxing, you go in a little bit for the action, you want to rest, you back up a little bit. In this sport, they put their hands on you, there's no resting. So I didn't want to get involved, but I did, and when it was just about over, I said, "Holy crap! Is this what I'm getting myself into?"
Wow.
It was just, but the one thing that even though these guys were trying to convince this guy that what he said was wrong, I said something to defray it. And you know what? They listened.
Oh.
They just, now if that was another sport, I'd have probably been scrapping with them. But they listened, and you know, they gave me a reason to come back.
And that's been the case with all fighters. Fighters listen to Burt Watson, and they have to, obviously, but they do as well. They have a tremendous amount of respect for you. Now we see how the sport has changed in front of the camera, inside the cage, the development of the level of fighters, to marketing, to the economy for fighting, when it comes to sponsorships and so on. How's it changed behind the scenes for you?
Well, you know, it like anything, if you have a good system or something as a part of the process, if it's good at the beginning, it'll keep its consistency. So the one thing about Dana White and Lorenzo Fertitta and most of the guys in the UFC, they bring people on and they allowed you to do your job. They allowed you to do what you do to get that shit.
That's okay. In Sweden
We're still in Sweden, don't worry.
To get that stuff done, and without, you know, impeding the process. So you set up a system, and if the system is good and proper, anything you put on it, it just kind of goes along with it. But the progression of it, I've seen it. I've seen it in the level of fighting, the way these guys fight, the level of competition. You know, how some guys will come in and, you know, they're going to do this and they're going to do that, and sometimes they do it. Now, that doesn't happen. Everybody can fight. Yeah. Everybody knows what they're doing. Everybody is well-rounded. You know, if you come in half-assed, you leave half-assed. You're just plain and simple. You know, it's unbelievable. And I see it, you know, from a distance. I don't always have time to sit and put my finger on the changes, but I see it and I feel it, and it's very obvious.
And you say getting the job done, and especially perhaps in Sweden, but I think in the US as well, a lot of people don't actually know what getting the job done means when it comes to Burt Watson. What exactly is your job description?
He was a hitman, he just said.
No, I said it was a hired gun. I said it was a hitman.
My bad.
You know, it's just basically when a fighter comes on site, you know, you have no idea what it is to get into that cage or to do anything for 2 minutes unless you do it. You know, just basically get in a gym and jump rope for 2 minutes, you know, or have somebody lay on top of you for, well,
more than 2 minutes.
2 minutes, more than anything for more than 2 minutes or 3 minutes. It's a lot. Yeah. And it's, you know, when these guys come in and they come to fight and they come to get in that cage, you know, they shift a whole nother gear. They shift to a whole nother level. There's a whole nother thing going on. So you got to watch that. And when they come in and do that, I have to make sure that there's nothing else on their head but what they got to do in that cage. And that's being their rooms, their workouts, their equipments, their gloves, the sponsorships, their per diem money, the rides from the airport, the people they got coming in, where they're sleeping, who's in the workout room with them, who's in the dressing room with them. All those things that make it or give them a comfort level to get into that cage are the things that...
Basically, you absorb headaches. Pretty much is what you do.
85% of what I do is
that's
headache,
a tough job.
You know,
absorbing or trying to prevent, or both?
A little of both. I've learned how to kind of take a headache and let it go. You know, I do this with it now. You know, but you know, whatever it is that it takes for these guys to get their job done, that's what I do. That's what we do in the operations department, in our PR department. Overall, and it's a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of fun, and it's not hard work because the guys are a pleasure to work with, all of them.
That's great to hear. We're gonna take a quick break, but before we break, we want to congratulate our winners who won the T-shirts. It was Jesper Hansson, Eddie Cardestål, and Alexander Green, who won the T-shirts today. Congratulations. And our success to a little competition that we had, giving out clues during the week to two happy winners that came out today to win the UFC tickets. It was such a success that we are actually going to do another competition just like it. Why? Because there was so many people that came out today, and it was such a success having the little clues given out by Kim during the week that we decided to do it one more time. The thing about it is, we wish that we can give you all tickets, everyone, every single person, especially for everyone that made the effort to come out today. We can't, but we have 2 more tickets, and we're going to give you the clue after the break. Thank you. Welcome back, and we've got Burt for a little bit longer. We know you're busy, and thank you for coming out, first of all. We know how busy this week is for you leading up to the fight. Now, tell us a little bit about fight week. You mentioned you came in yesterday, Monday.
Yeah.
And you're here until Sunday, I believe.
Till Sunday, and today, all the fighters actually get in on Tuesday.
So tomorrow?
Tomorrow, the fighters come in. That's when we start rocking and rolling, baby. When they come in, the fighters come in, and we pick everybody up at the airport. And this being a lot of the fighters, our fighters come from all over the world. So, right. Sometimes there are issues at the airport with passports or just little things. But we pick everybody up, we bring them to the hotel. The fighters get to the hotel, and the first thing they do, they come to me, and I put them on the scale.
Yeah.
Even though that's wow. A bad time to put them on the scale, but I still got to get in their head to let them know I'm checking that all week long.
So let me ask you this: when someone comes in and you can tell, obviously you know about the weight cuts and how they're gonna get there, but where do you say, wow, you better start running right now?
The minute I put them on that scale and see what that weight says, the minute they get on there, I look at it and I check it and I let them know, I'm not happy with what I see, or, especially if they're the young guys, young guys that just came in, figure, I'm used to cutting weight and I'm used to this. You know it, I don't know it, and we don't know it. And I'm gonna tell you something. The worst day for me is weigh-in day.
Really?
If we got 12
headache
fights,
day, that would be.
We got 12 fights. Burt Watson makes weight 24 times. Every time somebody steps up on that scale, I'm like this until that official calls out the weight and checks out. So, and I'll probably never get over that, but I do everything during the course of the week to make sure that they're on weight as much as I can.
So the fight is coming on Tuesday. You
Yes.
came in on Monday.
Yes.
How does it work for the UFC? You came by yourself. Who came with you? How many airplanes are showing up? Like, especially nowadays, like talking about the development of the UFC from used to do shows in Vegas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now
Yes.
you're all over the world.
Yes.
So especially now coming to Sweden, how does it work when the crew, so to speak, travels to an international country?
Well, it's a mass production kind of a situation. I mean, the UFC has become a massive organization, and it's become international and global. And when we travel, and the UFC is very self-contained. It does all of its own marketing. It does all of its own PR, its operations, its merchandise. So it travels with either all of those people or representatives from those areas or departments. During the course of the week, we can come in with anywhere from 60 to 150 to 200 people.
Wow.
Including fighters in camps. Fighters in camps alone can be 80 people.
Right.
So we travel with, everybody, but it's become a part of the process, and it's what works for us. And now, because we've gotten global and international, we have PR teams over in the UK, over here. We've got representatives, and we got pretty good people, I must say.
Do you scout them on location? Do you have actual people in Scandinavia to work for the UFC?
I think like anything else, they do have people in certain areas that handle certain parts of our national and international.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's by a process where we go through and kind of take recommendations from certain
Yeah, like headhunting. You just look for the best ones.
Oh yeah.
I'm right here.
So
Be careful what you ask for, baby. You just might get it. I'm telling you.
Oh, really? I'm still right here.
This is not.
you know, man, I would love to be there.
Believe me.
So
Believe me.
you mentioned the weigh-ins and being nervous about that and your little hiccup from your first event with Phil Baroni and company. Your best moment with fighters in the UFC and your craziest moment. Doesn't necessarily have to be bad, but crazy.
I think the best thing is that I'm still here after 11 years, almost 12 years, and I still love everybody. There's nobody here that I can say that I don't like or I dislike. There's a few people I'd like to put my foot certain places, but overall, no. It's been one hell of a joyride. I love it. I love everything about it. You know, my craziest moment, you know, it's as I said before, you never realize what these guys go through or what it takes to get into that cage. The mindset that they have to have. And I know that because I come from a boxing background. I don't know what it is to get in that cage. Okay. But I know the comfort level you need, and you can't happen. And fighters will put little things on their heads. You know, and when I say little things, this is not a little thing, but I had a guy, and I'm not going to mention his name, that came in, and his wife was pregnant. She was having a baby, and we stayed in the room, and I talked to them before to let them know, whatever it is, baby, if it's up here, I want it right here. If it's in here, especially if it's in here, put it here. The only stupid question is the one you don't ask. So he's telling me, oh, my wife's having a baby, and, you know, I'm still waiting, and so I'm, you know, good. And the next day I see him, your wife, okay, yeah, she's fine, it's going on. Night before the fight, this guy calls me at 2 o'clock in the morning. He's in the lobby with his bags, getting ready to go home because her water broke.
Oh,
wow.
And I'm
That's
like,
headache right there.
I'm like, huh? He says, I'm downstairs in the lobby, and I'm trying to get a cab to go to the airport because my wife's water broke. I said, huh? What? You know what? I'm on the phone. Luckily, I'm on the cell phone. I'm talking to him. As I'm talking to him, I'm getting dressed, trying to get my stuff, and I'm getting dressed in the dark, running around a room with hotel furniture that doesn't move. Got downstairs with the guy, and he was in tears. He was seriously headed to the airport. Wasn't going to tell anybody, but he made that phone call to me to tell me he was headed.
Did he fight?
He fought. I talked him out of him, and she had a little boy.
You heard it from Burt Watson, who has a crazy week ahead of him. We're going to let you go, Burt. I want to thank you for coming out, taking the time in your busy schedule to come out here. We're going to take a quick break and go out to Kim, who's out in the cold, and meet Kim with the happy winners who got the tickets to the UFC. See you in a bit.
All the way live, baby.